Hello, hello, and welcome back to the next audio where I'm talking about more of the catalysts, the things that really made a difference around people being visible or not. And what I would like to do is I'd like to share 5 on here. I find it really difficult. I could sit and just read what I've written, but how boring. And I find it really difficult to just give a one-liner without giving context behind it. I appreciate that some of these catalysts will resonate on different levels with people. And as we go through into more of these audios, some of you are joining in the conversation a bit later on. So if that's you, do go back and have a listen to some of the earlier recordings, because it will help to follow the journey. You'll be very pleased to know that many of these videos are relatively short compared to an episode of, say, Bridgerton or something on Netflix or one of those other places. And so far, really, other than the live stream that I do every Tuesday, you're really looking at no more than 15 minutes for these videos. So they won't all be as long as 15 minutes, but I aim to share these catalysts so that you can put yourself in your situation, your business, whether you're getting started, whether you're straddling working and a business, whether you're thinking of going back into work, whether you're thinking of jumping out of work. Really, my intention is for you to put yourself with whatever resonates so that it kind of informs you moving forward. So just in case you are new to me, I'm not going to give you a verbal CV. I'm not even going to give you a backstory. I'll get you just to go back and listen to the other audios, or hop over to my website and have a scratch around on jennykovacs.com so that you can kind of like get the gist of what I'm about. But what I am going to do is I'm going to dig deeper into these, into the next 5, but dig more deeply into one of them based on kind of my gut feeling, really. That's it. Because I know that over time I will probably go deeper on all of these in some space or time, whether it's live at an event or on a online masterclass or through one of my programs or something. So the next 5, I'll read them all out and then I'll decide kind of live on time which one to go deeper into. Although if I don't go deeper into one that you really wanted to hear more about, then do type in the comments below. Thank you to those of you that have been doing that, because I will also make sure that if I have already recorded it, by the time you've left your comment, I'll go back specifically and say more about those pieces. Okay, so the next 6 catalysts that happened, the next 5 catalysts that happened, so catalyst number 6, there were people that wanted to show up, put themselves out there online and on social media, but they didn't want to have to fess up to how much money they were earning, their marital status, their sexuality, their gender identification. And honestly, they didn't want to argue with complete strangers about their lived experiences. I saw, or I noticed a lot more throughout the pandemic, although it's always been prevalent. I've seen it, since kind of going online myself in 2010 at the start of my business. I just think there's more places to see it now. I also felt this air of justification, people having to justify what they posted, why they posted it, or what they were posting about. And another thing that crept into the business world was people having to talk about their pricing, and more so the justification of what they were charging and why. But that's not visibility. And, with no disrespect to many fantastic business coaches and people out there, a lot of them have their own specialities, not necessarily just one. They might cover a lot of areas. They might be like specialized, for example, in sales and putting together groups, group programs and things like that. And visibility runs through the thread of all of these things. Well, because I only specialize in visibility, then what I started to notice was what was visibility and what wasn't. And justifying how much you're charging and why is a sales conversation. It's not visibility. And people would always start this question, especially my private clients and people in my group programs would start a question with a charging or a pricing piece, and wrap that up in the same ball of wool as visibility. It's not. It was really exasperating for them, exasperating for me, and exasperating for the marketplace, and also skewed their focus. So that was catalyst number 7, justification. Catalyst number 8 was, I'm going to call it the FOMO one. It was all about FOMO and feeling inadequate. And this put out in the guise of marketing. So I'll come back to that, and I think I'll go deeper in that as well. So that was number 8. Number 9 was how people judge their lives, looking at someone else's life, and comparing what they saw on the outside of somebody else's life with the inside of their own life, and deciding that just wasn't good enough. I didn't think that was really that fair on them. And then people using a common language, which we all do, wherever you are in the world, we all use a common language. There are things that get said, the sound bites that get regurgitated and repeated, like FOMO. If you think about it, 20 years ago, FOMO, or fear of missing out, wasn't a thing that people generally, they genuinely didn't say it, or generally, I should say, didn't say it. So there are phrases that, come around with the times, I guess. But what I was noticing was that people, when I was asking like a client on a one-to-one basis, I could tell whether they were new to business or even new to personal development, professional development, by the language they were or weren't using. So people that had been around the block a bit and had evolved their business, if they were on a path that was aligned with them, would talk about their own path. But if they felt kind of indecisive along the way, which we all do, myself included, I've been there, and I'm sure that I will go there again in the future at some point. Whenever we don't feel sure of our decisions, what I notice, and again, this comes from the visibility element, is that we borrow somebody else's words, or we borrow somebody else's voice. And that stops the person themselves from accessing what they really need in that moment and what's really going on for them. This, to me, is the underpinning of authenticity that comes underneath visibility. So the 5 catalysts, people having to fess up to how much they earned, or confess, but it had that energy. They had to confess, oh, I only earn this, or I'm going to be earning that, or I've only done this through cash in the bank, or my sales are this, but this has happened, in a way that didn't feel good. Other things they had to fess up with, marital status, gender, sexuality, all those sorts of things, lived experiences. Justifications was number 7. Number 8 was FOMO and people feeling bad about themselves. I'm coming back to that. Number 9 was judging the inside of your life and business by the outside of somebody else's. And number 10 was categorizing or using language and saying something which kind of like where you lose your voice. And some of the other ways people would categorize themselves, as they would describe themselves as ADHD without a formal diagnosis, or a bit OCD, and all of that kind of stuff as well. So to move swiftly on and dig deeper into that, being in business and putting yourself out there doesn't ever require making somebody feel bad about themselves in the process. It really doesn't. Whilst it might sometimes present as fear of missing out and FOMO, and in marketing, There is a thing called pain points. There really is. But it shouldn't feel painful. It shouldn't make leave people feeling bad about themselves to a point of anxiety and depression, sabotaging their lives or businesses, and even worse. You know, I'm sure you can resonate on some level with that. I just think that human beings have a hard enough time sometimes of feeling like they're good enough, feeling like they're fit for purpose, feeling like they're being taken seriously. And many humans feel like that and navigate it. You know, there are things that kind of make me step back. I shared recently at a talk with a group of people that I'd been booked to speak at quite a big conference. And when I looked at the speaker page and all of the other speakers who were had awards, you know, like OBEs, MBEs, if you're in the UK, so awards from the Queen, people that had been on television, people who were very prolific in their field, people that had been on the news. And then there was me, you know, and this for a moment did make me think, oh my gosh, am I good enough? But at the same time, my drive for helping people to find their voice, showing them how to be visible in a way that, you know, they really share and show their differences, far outweighed any feeling, meaning that I didn't sort of email or phone up the organizer and say, actually, I've changed my mind. You know, that wasn't the thing. So here's what I'm going to speak to. When we unintentionally, and I think a lot of this is unintentional, when we market ourselves, but unintentionally make somebody feel bad about themselves, this to me doesn't say that people like, or somebody is a bad person. This says to me that they haven't learned how to market themselves or market their business, or how to raise their profile or market their business in a way that feels good to them, in a way that works well for them, and in a way that works well for their business. And, you know, I know that some of you are employees and very senior. So for you, it's about raising your profile in a way that's not damaging to people who are on their way there, or the environment you're in, the industry you're in, or people around you. It's just a symptom of that. And it's almost like walking around life being psychic. I see it and hear it in so many different ways. You know, people talk about you know, their relationships, and I'm not a relationship coach, you know, and people will say, but I'm looking for the man of my dreams, and a few sentences in, they say something which lets me know that they are not putting themselves out there in a way that suits or matches them, and they don't even know about it. And, you know, as somebody who hasn't paid for my professional opinion, isn't a client of mine, it's not really my business to say, only me, I'm going to talk to you about why you're doing that. You know, even with my friends and family, nobody wants to know it all as a friend. But I think it's a really important thing to do. So I feel like I don't want to round off this audio by just kind of going through those catalysts. I feel like I want to give you a few ideas, even if you don't necessarily feel stuck in this area, but if you want to see it through a new set of eyes. And this has come from something that I did throughout the lockdown of the pandemic, and something that I've been doing just through this summer month, what I can do from anywhere. And during the pandemic, because a lot of people didn't know what was going to happen, myself included, I put out some sessions, some one-off sessions, where you could literally have an hour with me. I would record it, and it would be a service that you would pay for. And it just helped people to move the needle on a specific area that they were looking to move. You know, I had people that came to me about sales, people that discussed webinars, somebody that wanted to know about speaking to corporates and how they could get more involved in that, somebody who felt like they had so many niches, they thought it was confusing to their audience. There were so many of them. And one of the things that I really like about these one-off sessions is it's like you come with your question, I go with an answer, and then you've got the recording to listen back to, and it's specifically tailored for you as well. Obviously, there's a limit to how many of these I can do. There's so many hours in the day, but if you are feeling like you want to, to know more about that, then what I would suggest you do is either go over to the queenofbeingseen.com and you can schedule a call to speak to me. You can schedule a call to speak to me, or to speak to somebody that can help you with what's the best next thing moving forward. If you definitely know that you do want one, then by all means, either go via my website, jennykovacs.com, or leave me a message here saying that you'd like us to make contact, and we'll make contact with you. In August, it will be myself making contact personally with you. I say all of that because here are some kind of tidbits, if you like, or tibbits, as one of my friends says, of what you can do if you feel like what you're doing either isn't working now or isn't working anymore. Specifically, if you are a business owner, a speaker, a consultant, a freelancer, but if you are an employee who's struggling with that, then do reach out, do get in contact, because I have offered these one-off sessions for all sorts of people, from heads of execs in global industries, and people who are looking for their next kind of like career jump. Okay, it's a lot easier for me to help you specifically than generically. So if you are wondering how to market yourself, this is where I recommend you start. Look at your audience or audiences. Look at the people that you know that you can serve really well and enjoy serving really well. No point looking at the people that you don't. And have a look at what they are struggling with, have a look at what their aspirations are and they're wishing for, and definitely have a look with, in marketing, they're known as pain points, but the things that are literally like giving them the 3 o'clock in the morning sort of sweats. I don't know if you've ever experienced where there's been something on your mind and you've literally been deep asleep, you've woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning with this panicked feeling. If you were your ideal client, what would they be freaking out about at that time in the morning? Now, once you've gathered that, this is where you can then start to identify what you do can really serve them best. And it doesn't have to do it by making them feel bad about themselves. They already feel bad about the thing they're in, but in order for you to get their attention, you don't need to make them feel bad or worse about themselves or who they are or how they operate. Hope that makes sense, and I hope that's helpful. There's a few different kind of layers and ways you can look at that. And that is one of the best places to start, even if you've been doing this for a long time, even if you've worked with coaches for a long time. It's something that I still do in my business. I'd like to say, like, I used to do it once every few years, and then, I'd like to say, well, I do it every month on the month. I do it regularly, and sometimes as people have engaged me to speak or to deliver a training, I've seen some similarities in them with some of my other clients that I've worked with. So then I go back to this exercise again. There's a bit more to it, and there is a kind of a paid program that you can jump into. But I just want to give you that now so that you've got something to be kind of like percolating on. Hopefully helpful. And I better stop recording because this will be a long one, but I haven't put anything out for about 48 hours now. So hopefully helpful. Do let me know how you get on. And if you don't want to blast it out there publicly, then do contact me. And I just like, I'm interested to hear how this is landing. It's landing really well for a lot of people. And for that, I'm so grateful. See you on the next recording. Bye for now.